Lindsay Lohan will still be collecting holidays like Infinity Stones. Hey guys, it's Quana back again with another review. Hope you guys are doing awesome. So Netflix has a new romantic comedy out just in time for St. Patrick's Day, and it's called Irish Wish. It stars Lindsay Lohan, our favorite redhead actress from the late 90s and early 2000s, who teams up again with director Janeen Damian, who also directed her in Falling for Christmas, another Netflix holiday-based movie. The film was written by Kristen Hansen, who's written a bunch for TV and not so much for theatrical releases, and it shows in this film. The synopsis of the film is that when the love of her life gets engaged to her best friend, Maddie, played by Lindsay Lohan, puts her feelings aside to be a bridesmaid at their wedding in Ireland. Days before the wedding, Maddie makes a spontaneous wish for true love, only to wake up as the bride-to-be. So, without getting too spoilery, this film is very formulaic in its romantic comedy. This is a what-if style of romantic comedy where we usually see a It's a Wonderful Life style of reversal where the protagonist gets placed in their idealized situation, the life that they want to lead or think that they want to lead, only to realize that perhaps the life that they really desire or the life that would be best for them is not found in the life that they wish. It starts with us seeing that Maddie is in love with this author named Paul Kennedy, who is at this huge premiere for his book. It actually looked like a movie premiere at first, and so that just is, I guess, their way of showcasing how big of a celebrity Paul Kennedy really is, because it looks way more like a film premiere. And we see Maddie arrive in a taxi instead of in a driven car, the way that he shows up. We see her longing for him from afar, and in comes the hijinks where we see Maddie as someone who's very clumsy. She gets her scarf caught in the taxi, and then she goes to meet up with Paul, who it seems like is her boyfriend, but we soon find out is the writer of the book that she has edited. He is not interested in her, and it's evident throughout the entire film, at least to me, that rather he's probably aware that she at least desires him or thinks he's attractive, and he strings her along and takes advantage of her feelings in order to keep her as his editor, because we find out that she's made a lot of changes to his book for the better. She tells her mother in the car that she's going to confess her feelings, but instead she soon watches as her best friend Emma falls in love with him and ends up being his bride. In that scene, we also have her other friend, Heather, played by Aisha Curry. I was like, Aisha girl, what you doing here? Okay. They head to Ireland, and she makes a wish at a monument for St. Bridget to be the one getting married to Paul Kennedy. She always refers to him by his first and last name, which goes to show you that she idealizes him, but she doesn't really know him, and he doesn't really know her. Bridget grants her wish, but kind of warns that it may not be the wish that she truly desires. But she's like, how could that not be? My life would be perfect if I was only getting married to Paul Kennedy. And she wakes up and is the bride-to-be, and it's no longer her friend Emma. She thinks that she's getting her idealized life, but we soon see her being pushed around by Paul's mother, not fitting into his world, not having her voice be heard. And it goes back to what her mother, played by the Queen Jane Seymour herself, tells her that she needs to stick up for herself. From there, we get into all of the regular romantic comedy hijinks, falling down, tripping over oneself, all those things. But it escalates when Paul's mother hires James, this guy who she meets at the beginning of the film, through a very meet cute at the airport situation of like mixed identity, kind of similar and foreshadowing the rest of the film, finds out that he's a photographer and hires him and forces Kim and Maddie into close proximity where they get to learn about each other. And there is obviously more chemistry between the two of them than between her and Paul Kennedy. And this is where we get love triangle, but it's kind of a love square because you can't forget Emma's involved in all of this. It was so cute to see Lindsay Lohan on screen. I feel like she looks amazing. I think she'd had some work over the years, and even when she did Falling for Christmas, she still kind of had that freshly Botoxed look to her that's a little bit off-putting, but in this she feels like a return to the Annie and Hallie that we met in Parent Trap. She looks very freckled, very fresh face. There's even, I thought, a couple of nods to like her 90s looks and early 2000s looks that I thought were in this movie. Like she had the braid going across in one scene, and then the cute little pullback ponytail with the bow that I just thought was so cute and really reminded me of the Lindsay Lohan who we first were introduced to and was on track to be a major starlet. And it was just refreshing to see her on the screen. I think she still has it. I think she still can be a great actress. She's got some good comedic timing, but this film and this script just did not let her do a lot. There wasn't really that great chemistry. The characters really weren't that well written. Poor Aisha Curry barely had anything at all. I think she had like maybe 3 minutes worth of lines in this whole movie. There wasn't really enough time spent with her and the James character developing their interest for one another. And, you know, it was pretty evident that Paul was not the right guy for her, and I think it was soon evident to her as well. So in terms of that storyline, it was generic. It was fine. It wasn't anything like really horrible. I just felt like it wasn't anything that like would make me want to pick this movie to watch again and again. If I'm picking from a romantic comedy, it's not just about picking something that has a nostalgia factor for me. There just weren't a lot of moments that I felt like were super memorable. And I think every good rom-com has that moment, that sequence that you go back to it again and again. Even some of the later rom-coms that I don't necessarily love as much, but still have these iconic moments, like the dress montage in 27 Dresses, or the scene at the restaurant at My Best Friend's wedding when they're singing Say a Little Prayer for You. Like, that's such an iconic moment. And I think for a good rom-com, you have to have an iconic moment. And I just felt like this film didn't really have that at all. And so it just was lacking in that area. It was a cute little watch. Like I said, I think Lindsay is collecting holidays like Infinity Stones, and so that's great for her. But I would love to see her shine as something that was really well written. I think definitely get a romantic comedy writer who has written for like major releases and not just for like Hallmark style movies, because it's not giving her much to do. I did like the moments when she was with James the most, especially when they're broken down from the rain and they're in the pub. That felt very much like, I'm going to forget the movie, but there's a Sandra Bullock movie that does something very similar to that. And I think that's also the thing, right? Is that there was just never a moment that felt fresh. What did work for this movie was the cinematography, the landscape, and the scenes of Ireland. Ireland is a beautiful, gorgeous country, and the moments where we get to see that were absolutely breathtaking, and we could have seen more of this, and I would have enjoyed it a whole lot. I won't say that it was a horrible movie. It was a very much standard made-for-TV romantic comedy, and I think just for someone like a Lindsay Lohan, you just want to see her do something a bit more or get something a bit better. Just like, she's been in some iconic movies like Parent Trap. That's a remake, and it still is so iconic, even though like I love the original. That's so iconic. So she's been in these iconic movies, and we want to see her return to that. But if you're just someone who likes romantic comedies, and you certainly like them on like Hallmark or Lifetime, this definitely is going to be in your wheelhouse. I think you will enjoy it, but I don't think that if you're looking for something super memorable, you're not going to get that in this movie. But let me know down below in the comments what you thought about this movie, and I will see you guys in the next video. Toodles!